गुड मॉर्निंग स्टूडेंट्स, वेलकम ऑन यूट्यूब चैनल वैल्यू एजुकेशन। आज हम बात करेंगे MMPC 001 के ब्लॉक 4 यानी कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल प्रोसेसेस की। तो जो ब्लॉक 1, ब्लॉक 2 एंड ब्लॉक 3 है उसके जितने भी यूनिट्स थे यानी कि 9 यूनिट्स थे हमने कवर कर दिए हैं। आज हम जो यूनिट लेकर आए हैं वो है हमारी यूनिट 10 ब्लॉक 4 की, यानी कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन स्ट्रक्चर एंड डिजाइन। तो हम इसके स्ट्रक्चर एंड डिजाइन के बारे में चर्चा करेंगे आज, और जो इसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स है, अंडरस्टैंड द बेसिक एलिमेंट्स ऑफ एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन स्ट्रक्चर, डिफरेंशिएट बिटवीन फॉर्मल एंड इनफॉर्मल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन स्ट्रक्चर्स, एक्सेट्रा। सो पहले हम इसकी इंट्रोडक्शन के बारे में देखेंगे। इसकी इंट्रोडक्शन है कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज द फॉर्मल ग्रुपिंग ऑफ एक्टिविटीज एंड रिसोर्सेज फॉर फैसिलिटेटिंग attainment of specific organizational objectives. It is possible to achieve objectives without formally organizing, but there is likely to be great wastage of resources and time. Organizing ensures that objectives are achieved in that shortest possible time in an orderly manner with maximum utilization of the given resources. जैसा कि आप देख सकते हैं स्क्रीन पे। फिर इसके बाद में इसका है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन स्ट्रक्चर एंड चार्ट। ऑर्गेनाइजेशन स्ट्रक्चर्स refer to the formal established pattern of relationship amongst the variation part of a firm or any organization. The fact that these relationships are formal implies that they are deliberately specified and adopted and do not evolve on their own. ये आप पढ़ सकते हैं, इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है। इसके बाद हम बात करते हैं ये इसके चार्ट के बारे में। ये मोस्ट इंपोर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है। ये बोर्ड ऑफ सबसे ऊपर जो रहेगा वो बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स रहेगा, उसके बाद चेयरमैन एंड मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर रहेगा, उसके बाद मैनेजर परचेज, मैनेजर मार्केटिंग एंड मैनेजर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, मैनेजर फाइनेंस, मैनेजर पर्सनल एंड डायरेक्टर रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट। देन मैनेजर फाइनेंस के नीचे चार सिस्टम रहेंगे। पहला रहेगा प्रोडक्शन कंट्रोल, दूसरा रहेगा क्वालिटी कंट्रोल, तीसरा जो इसमें आएगा वो प्रिक्योरमेंट का रहेगा एंड ट्रांसपोर्टेशन एंड ट्रैफिक्स का। फिर इसी फाइनेंस मैनेजर फाइनेंस के अंडर आएंगे प्लांट मैनेजर 1, प्लांट मैनेजर 2, प्लांट मैनेजर 3। प्लांट मैनेजर 1 के अंडर आएंगे सुपरवाइजर, फोरमैन एंड ऑपरेशन। सेम इन तीनों प्लांट मैनेजर के अंडर रहेगी। उसके बाद ऑर्गेनाइजेशन चार्ट फॉर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी, जो जैसा कि हमने आपको डिस्कस कर ही दिया है। ये फ्लो चार्ट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, ये एग्जाम में आने के चांसेस बहुत ज्यादा है। द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन चार्ट इज रेदर एब्स्ट्रैक्ट illustration of the structure. To get a more complete picture, the chart may be supplemented by job descriptions of each position. The job description gives in detail the activities and responsibilities expected of the person occupying the position. Both the organization chart and job description are simplified abstraction of the actual situation. In reality, there are many more positions and relationships than indicated in the organization chart. The degree of authority a superior has over his subordinate is also not indicated in the chart, nor is the relationship between two managers at an equal level reflected in the organization chart. उसके बाद हम देखते हैं तो वो रहेगा हमारा फॉर्मल एंड इनफॉर्मल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। सो इफ यू and your colleagues decide to meet every Saturday evening for 1 hour and form a recreation club to play chess and carom. You are meeting in an informal organization. However, when the same group of your colleagues meets to review the last quarter's performance and plan for the next 3 months, it is in the context of a formal organization. Thus, while the informal organization is spontaneous, that formal organization is the result of a deliberate and planned effort to pattern activities and relationships in a specific manner to facilitate achieving the specified objectives. A formal organization is the result of explicit decision making and deciding how people and activities should be related to one another. However, there is no such decision making involved in an informal organization, which may simplify evolve over time. In the context of a business organization, both the formal and the informal organizations operate together to form the total organization. The formal structure delineates specific departments, activities, people, and their reporting relationships. The infor- uh, informal structure refers to the social group or friendship which people working together may form. The most important aspects of informal organization is the informal communication network or grapevine as it's more commonly known. If you analyze the communication network in your organization, you would realize the amount of information you gather from official circulars, memos, and speech is rather insignificant compared to what you unofficially learn from your colleagues. Your subordinates and even your peon, the grapevine, constitutes an extremely important component of an organizational information system. How often you have been able to avert a crisis much before it actually erupted because the information about the impending crisis was conveyed to you by the grapevine. Beside the grapevine, the other manifestation of the informal organization is the formation of group which may spontaneously evolve when the formal organization is slow to respond to changing external and internal forces. But sometimes these informal groups may also work against the formal organization. This may happen when an informal group of workers may force other workers to lay down tools or works to rule or generally pose im- impediments in the path of progress. Sometimes the norms and works ethics evolved by the informal organization takes precedence over the official norms. The head of the market research division of a large multinational company involved in manufacturing and marketing a wide range of consumer products would always spend 3 to 4 hours every Saturday morning in office, even though Saturday was officially a holiday, observing that the departmental head worked on a holiday, his immediate subordinates also felt obliged to be in office every Saturday. The manager did not expect it from his subordinates, but the latter felt that by doing so they would be creating a favorable image for themselves in the eyes of their boss, which would help them in their promotion within the formal organization. Similarly, you would find informality, evolved values operating within the parameters of formal organization. These values may relate to race, employment of women, employment of member of a minority community, etc. In understanding the structure of an organization, you must understand the important role played by the informal organization within the formal organization. Next one is factors influencing the choice of structure. As a manager, it is your job to design a structure that will best suit the specific requirements of your organization. Designing an organization structure is a continuous process. What seemed to be the ideal design today may tomorrow prove to be totally inefficient ineffective. It is your task as a manager to be continuously improving the structure of your organization. Any change in factors which imping upon the design of an organization will necessitate a change in the structure to suit the new conditions. Impact of environment. The first factor affecting the design of your organization structure is the environment. An organization is continuously interacting with its environment in terms of drawing inputs from it and providing it its output. All organizations operate within an environment which comprises economic, social, culture, political, and legal subsystems. A change in any of these subsystems may force you to change the design of your structure. Change in government regulations regarding foreign equity participation in India made it imperative for the most foreign owned companies to dilute their holdings and become more national in characters. Increasing awareness about personal rights and social pressure on maintaining the natural state of environment have forced many companies to set up personal welfare departments and install expensive equipment to neutralize the toxic effluents generated in their manufacturing processes. You might have noticed that banks have instituted a process by which public complaint can be tackled at the highest level. Some of the bank manager and chairman even set aside specific timing when they give a personal hearing to individual grievance. Next one is business organization are very much in the public eye today. Generally speaking, the more responsive your organization is to the changes in the environment, the more favorable will be its public image and greater the chances of its survival and success. You have not only to ensure that the appropriate changes are made, but equally important, these changes must be perceived by both the public and the government. Impact of technology, important question. Impact of technology. The second factor affecting the structure of your organization is the technology that you have adopted. To begin with, each pair of shoes was made by a single cobbler who probably spent 4 to 5 days on the entire process. With the concept of specialization and division of work, organizations instead of being designed around individual craftsmen were structured on the basis of different people doing only a specialized part of the entire process of shoe making. This concept was further refined with the introduction of automation and assembly line. Now, with the introduction of computerization and robots, new structural designs are once again emerging. Entire plant are manned by a single operator who controls the operation through computers. Major human inputs are needed in designing computers, controls, and software rather than performing repetitive jobs. These technological changes affect not only the large firm but also the smaller one. In India, in a large number of medium and small scale companies, simple routine functions such as preparing payroll, invoicing, and ledger maintenance have been computerized. Such small changes also necessitate re- redefining jobs and redesigning exciting departments to suit the new technological process. Today, the greatest impact of technology is on the manner in which people collect, receive, and use information. In many companies, full-fledged management information system departments have been set up in responses to the explosion in information technology. Impact of psychological characteristics is also important topic. That changing psychological characteristics of the workers is the third factor impinging upon the design of the organization structure. Greater demand for leisure time led to the introduction of the 5, and in some places even the 4-day week. Our country has also adopted a 5-day week. Greater awareness about worker rights and use of more militant means to earn those rights have led to the widespread formation of trade unions in almost every organization. Some companies have had to redesign their structure in order to give a formal recognition uh, to the unions. The three factors that we have discussed so far are external to the organization and its management. However, there are some attitudes and values of management which have a critical bearing on the structure of an organization. Most important of these are the management's attitudes towards the issues of decentralization and the delegation of authority, and the role and the function of line and staff personnel also affecting the organization structure are the scalar principle and span of control. Next topic is degree of decentralization. Most important question for exam. Centralization refer to the concentration of authority and decision making in one single position in the organization. In a one man enterprise, the entrepreneur makes all the decision and all the authority and decision making power is vested in him. With the expansion of business, it may no longer be possible for one man to control all the operations and may become necessary for him to delegate some responsibility and authority to another person. Delegation implies that you are acting on behalf of your boss by virtue of the power which he has given to you. The greater the delegation of power, the greater is the extent of the decentralization in the organization. You will find the some companies, even though physically very large, have highly centralized structure. All decisions are taken by the top management, with the middle and operating level manager having little or no say in running the show. On the other hand, you may find that even in relatively small organization, there is a greater delegation of power and the structure is very decentralized. The degree of decentralization in an organization is partly a manifestation of the top management's attitude. Some managers do not like to delegate even the smallest task to their subordinates. There may be a variety of reasons for this. Doing all the tasks himself may give the manager a great sense of power, or he may feel that the subordinate is incompetent and may commit mistakes. Total centralization, however, is never desirable as it may bog down the manager in routine, trivial tasks and leave no time for planning the company's future. An effective manager would decide the issues of centralization versus decentralization on the basis of requirement of the situation rather than his own personal bias. Decentralization is effective when conditions in each market are so different that only a high degree of adaptation to local condition will lead to success. Multinational companies which subsidiaries in many different countries are a typical example. Success depends on the quick response to information and conditions generated at the local level. Companies dealing in stocks and shares or international currencies require speedy response to the fluctuating prices for getting the best returns. Active participation of people in the planning and implementation of the objectives is conducive to good performance. An engineering company manufacturing electrical switching equipment sell mainly to the state electricity board through the tender system. Each tender requires close monitoring and personal follow-up at each stage till the final award is made. Realizing that personal rapport with individual state electricity board is important. The company has fully decentralized local offices in each city where the state electricity board is located. The introduction of computers and real-time information has influenced the concept of centralization in an organization. Information may be generated at the factory, but it is instantaneously transmitted to the decision maker for suitable action. Information may be processed and used at the place where it is generated, or it may simply be passed on to another location for use in decision making. Real time information can lead to greater centralization or decentralization. The degree to which a term decentralizes its structure depends on the requirements of its unique situation. Also, a firm may not decentralize all its operations but go in for only partial decentralization functions which facilitate local adaptation, quick decision making in response to local changes, and strengthen worker participation should certainly be decentralized. On the other hand, functions involving economic of scale, utilization of specialized knowledge, and involving hug sums of money may remain centralized. Finally, the degree of decentralization also depends on the availability of competent and reliable people to head the independent operation. Line and staff relationship. The role of line and staff personnel is the other issue to be decided in the context of the designing your organization structure. Traditionally, any function which directly contributed to the organization objectives was viewed as a line function. Staff function were those which helped line function to perform more effectively. However, an important point to note about line and staff is that in the former there is a direct relationship of command from superior to subordinate, while in the latter the relationship is more advisory in nature. There are some traditional principles which have greatly influenced the concept of organization structures. The most important of these are specialization of works, scalar principle, and span of control. Next is specialization of work. A very basic and traditional principle of organizing it is to break down a task or processes into smaller, more manageable tasks which call for utilization of special skills. This concept of work specialization aid division of labor was the foreigner of assembly lines. This is indeed a useful principle insofar as it allows a worker to concentrate on that activity at which he is most proficient. But in many situations, this concept has been carried too far, and jobs of workers have become so fragmented and trivial that a worker's job may be reduced to putting a screw on a bolt and simply tightening it. Scalar principle. Scalar principle and unity of command are two closely related principles. The scalar principle states that authority should flow in a straight line from the superior to the subordinates. In a hierarchical manner, the principle of unity of command state that ideally each subordinates should have only one superior. These two principles establish the basic hierarchical nature of an organization. Span of control and levels of management. Closely related to the concept of hierarchical structure are the concept of span of control and level of management. Let's understand these with the help of an example. In 1975, Mrs. Das, a housewife living in Bombay, started making garlic chili sauce at home and selling it to her close friends, relatives, and neighbors. The sauce became quite popular, and Mrs. Das began receiving many orders, including two from the nearby Chinese restaurant. Unable to cope with so much work, she hired Indrani as an assistant. This was the first step in the delegating authority and creating another level of management. Exciting customers now had to deal with Indrani as Mrs. Das herself concentrated on the preparing the sauce and tapping potential new customers. A year later, Mrs. Das hired one girl to help in the kitchen, two girls to assist her in making sales calls, and one office assistant for Indrani. Now authority had to be delegated in the kitchen as well as making sales call, and hence two levels of management were created in the kitchen and sales. The new office assistant reported only to Indrani, who in turn reported to Mrs. Das, and thus There were three levels of management in administration. Span of control refers to the number of people a manager has to control. Now, Mrs. Das' span of control extended to four people: Indrani, one kitchen assistant, and two sales assistant. And Indrani's spans of control was restricted to only one. And by 1980, the small sauce making enterprise had shifted to a shed into the nearby industrial estate with a fully fledged production facility consisting of 10 people and sales team of 16 girls divided into four terrestrial teams supervised by a sales manager and an office administration setup of 25 people. Mrs. Das organization as is evolved is shown in figure 2, 3 and 4 and 5. Starting out with a relatively flat organization where Mrs. Das was in direct contact with her customers and supplier, her organization had acquired many levels of management and a vertical structure by 1980. As an organization add on levels of management, it becomes vertical and the span of control at each level becomes narrow. In a flat organization, the span of control is relatively wider and level of management are few. The flow of information in flat organization is fast and there is greater individual satisfaction, and it is the ideal structure for conducting research and development and new product development groups. There is a great deal of controversy regarding the optimum number of people a manager can effectively manage or ideal span of control. The important factor is not the number of people whose work a manager has to control, but the number of people he actually has to work with. On paper, the marketing president may have 30 area sales manager upon span of control. But since manager does not have to interact with them individually more than once in a 6 month, and all other interactions including the regular reports are through the vice president sales, the system works well. In practice there is no ideal span. It will vary from individual to individual and from one organization to another. Similarly, there is no hard and fast rule governing the level of management. Too many levels only add unnecessary complexity because decisions, information, and instruction must go through too many channels. Each organization has to find its own ideal balance. So, evolution of an organization. Figure 2, we already discussed. Figure 3, level structure, flat structure, and figure 4, grading structure. Difference or differentiation of tasks and activities within an organization. So you can see on screen. सो फंक्शनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की हम बात कर रहे थे, तो फंक्शनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर आप मोटा मोटा देख सकते हैं कि सबसे पहले टॉप पे क्या कौन रहेगा, मैनेजमेंट रहेगा, फिर प्रोडक्शन, मार्केटिंग, पर्सनल एंड फाइनेंस. सो इसमें मेनली मार्केटिंग का काम है. सो मार्केटिंग के अंदर कौन कौन रहेंगे, कंज्यूमर रहेंगे, कंज्यूमर रिसर्च डिपार्टमेंट रहेगा, मार्केटिंग रिसर्च डिपार्टमेंट रहेगा, प्रोड्यूसर डेवलपमेंट ग्रुप रहेगा, मार्केटिंग डिपार्टमेंट रहेगा, सेल्स डिपार्टमेंट रहेगा एंड एडवर्टाइजिंग डिपार्टमेंट. उसके बाद डिफरेंशिएट बाय प्रोडक्ट. सो ये फंक्शनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन था. ये अगर हम इसको प्रोडक्टिव वाइज डिफरेंशिएट करें तो इसमें क्या रहेगा, इसमें टॉप पे मैनेजमेंट रहेगा, फिर प्रोडक्ट ए, प्रोडक्ट बी, प्रोडक्ट सी एंड प्रोडक्ट बी. प्रोडक्ट बी के बारे में मार्केटिंग, प्रोडक्शन, फाइनेंस एंड पर्सनल. प्रोडक्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हो गया हमारा ये. डिफरेंशिएट बाय लोकेशन. सो लोकेशन पे करेंगे तो हम इसमें रीजन बना दिए हमने, जैसे कि जोन वाइज बना दिया. तो सबसे पहले कौन सा हो गया, पंजाब रीजन, चंडीगढ़ हो गया, फिर दिल्ली रीजन, न्यू दिल्ली हो गया, यूपी रीजन में लखनऊ हो गया, जे एंड के में जम्मू कश्मीर में जम्मू हो गया, फिर इसमें पंजाब रीजन और दिल्ली रीजन के बीच में हरियाणा, चंडीगढ़, राजस्थान, ये ऐसे करके हमने इसको डाल दिया. फिर जोनल ऑफिस बना दिए हमने महाराष्ट्र इज इन बॉम्बे, एसआरएम, फिर ये जोनल टीम बना दी हमने, ये ऐसे करके हम पूरा जोन ऐसे करके बना देंगे। मतलब जोनल ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट, जब टीआई का मतलब, सीटीआई का मतलब सेंट्रल ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट, आरएम का मतलब रीजनल मैनेजर। यहाँ पे हमने सभी रीजनल मैनेजर बैठा दिए। उसके बाद बात करते हैं डिफरेंशिएशन बाय टाइप ऑफ कस्टमर्स। तो टाइप ऑफ कस्टमर्स देख सकते हैं। फिर मैट्रिक्स स्ट्रक्चर, इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है। द मैट्रिक्स स्ट्रक्चर इज ए कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ प्रोडक्ट एंड द फंक्शनल organization and it's usually created for executing a project which requires the skilled services of a functional man as well as specialized knowledge of a product man. Large turnkey projects in specialized field require a matrix structure. Figure 9 illustrates a matrix structure given below. The distinguishing characteristics of a matrix structure is that it operates under a dual authority. A person is accountable to two bosses at the same time, one his usual boss and the other his boss for the duration of the project. Obviously, the problems emanating from this type of structure leads to conflicting roles and authority arising out of an ambiguous de- demarcation of authority and responsibility. Top management, प्रोडक्ट ए, प्रोडक्ट बी, प्रोडक्ट सी, प्रोडक्ट डी। फिर इसमें फाइनेंस, प्रोडक्शन, मार्केटिंग, पर्सनल, मैट्रिक्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में हमने इसमें डाल दिया। Then network structure. Network structure is also important question. When an organization needs to control other organization or agencies whose participation is essential to the success, a network structure is organized in this. The main organization creates a network of relevant agencies and it influence in different ways. Network structure is mostly used in business and organizations which have socio-political objectives. For instance, the State Industrial Development Corporation may report to a network structure in their objective to establish an industrial estate. In this, SID may act as the lead agency and involves the State Electricity Board, local municipal authority, land development authority, authorities for water and sewage control, PNT department, and communication facilities, appropriate authorities for building roads, etc. Thus, a network structure envisages the envisages the utilization of a number of different services offered by different agencies. There is need to coordinate the different inputs and synchronize them towards the ultimate objectives. Next one is integration of the organizational tasks and activities. Uh, Having designed your organization structure to suit the specific needs of your company and its environment on the basis of most efficient grouping, you now have to ensure that these differentiated groups are integrated towards the common organizational objectives. Generally speaking, the more differentiated and specialized are the activities, the greater the need for coordination and integration. This is because there is danger of these specialized groups getting isolated and start viewing each other as rivals rather than companion in pursuit of same goal. Have you ever witnessed a situation where departments belonging to the same organization vigorously fight each other over the allocation of annual funds? Think of our country as one big organization and the states and union territories as its differentiated groups. Do you think they are well integrated towards the common goals of national economic development? The basics for integration is provided by the three elements of an organizational structure, namely authority, administration, and communication network. First one is authority, second one is administration, third one is communication network. Integration through authority. So The hierarchical relationship is an organization define the status of each position in relations to the others and the power that goes with the position. The basis for the hierarchical relationship is that the superior has authority over the subordinates in terms of assigning work and the latter in turn is obliged to obey the superior. Hierarchical relationships facilitate integration because they ensure that all activities are ultimately placed under one authority and thus are linked together. The top position becomes the center for all coordination in a small organization with a single product line. Integration and coordination from one central position is certainly feasible, but if you consider large organization with operations spread over many geographical areas, products lines running into hundreds and employing thousands of people, it is no longer physically possible for one person to coordinate all the tasks and activities. In such situations, the hierarchical structure has to be supported by the administrative structure and communication network. Next one is integration through administration. A great deal of coordinative effort in organization is concerned with a horizontal flow of work of a routine nature. Administrative system are formal procedure designed to carry out much of this routine. Every organization has its own administrative procedures and system. These relate to almost every aspect of organizational life. The procedure for selecting new recruits, calculation and mode of overtime, travel, medical and other allowances. The system of memos and movement of a file from one department to another for decision making are all illustration of administrative procedures. The larger the organization, generally the more formally prescribed and numerous are its administrative procedures. How administrative procedures helps in integrating different departments and different level within an organization can easily be understood by an illustration. In a typical organization, at the end of the corporate year, each individual, say a salesman, would fill own assessments of one performance. The salesman immediate boss would fill in a confidential report, CR, on the performance. The salesman's own assessments and the CR would both be given over the personal department, which may add information from its record and number of year salesman has been with the company, starting salary and additional number, promotion and increment and bonus received, any loans outstanding against one's names, etc. The complete file would then go to the manager marketing, who would be consultation with the general manager decide on the salesman next promotion and increment in accordance with the established salary structure. Thus, the administrative procedure for deciding promotion involves sharing of information between different levels in the same department, marketing, and between different departments, marketing, personnel, and general administration. Integrated through communication. In the previous illustrations, the basis for taking a decision about the salesman promotion were one's own assessment report and the boss confidential reports. Here, both these are representative of the mean of communicational used in the organization minutes of meetings, circulars, notice, progress reports, monthly in-house newsletters are all specific tools of the communication network of an organization. Just as manpower, raw material, and machines are the resources of an organization, so is information. Information regarding the development of a new technology by a rival company or the introduction of a new model of refrigerator are vital piece of information which can drastically affect the future course of action for a company. But information is highly possible if not communicated to the right person at the right time, it has little value. Information may be received at one level of organization but utilized at another. Salesman and other field staff are usually the eye and ear of an organization. They gather bits and pieces of vital information, but to be useful, these disjointed information pieces must be immediately communicated to the brain of the organization. For example, the managers who will analyze, act upon information just as the market information moves upward within the organization, decision have to be communicated downwards. The decision regarding changes in the distribution network made at the top but implemented by people in the field. Therefore, there is a need for communication network which provide the transmission of information both up and down the hierarchical structure. Similarly, networks should be available for exchange of information at the horizontal level. Computers and many other technical improvements have resulted in organizations' increased ability to collect, process, analyze, and transmit vast amount of information. Organizations today have greater access to an almost unbelievable array of information. In the final analysis, however, it is not so much the access to sophisticated technology which an organization has that determine the efficiency or efficacy, uh, efficiency of the communication network, but rather the stance and attitude of the top management in encouraging its people to talk with each other and share more information. इस तरह से हमारा लास्ट बचा है, इसका है डिजाइनिंग स्ट्रक्चर फॉर ए सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जैसे कि आप देखेंगे जो जो इसमें सर्विस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर कोई भी जो प्रोडक्ट रहता है वो फिजिकली प्रोड्यूस नहीं किया जाता है। तो इसमें हम हमें देखने में क्या मिलता है कि ड्राई क्लीनिंग, आफ्टर सेल्स मेंटेनेंस ऑफ योर टीवी एंड एसी, कंडीशनर, हेल्थ क्लब, म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन, बैंक्स, अनसर्विसबिलिटी एक्सेट्रा। मतलब जो बैंक वगैरह है या मतलब इसमें ऐसा कहा जाए कि सर्विस के अंदर जैसे कि आप बस में गए, आपने टिकट परचेज किया, उसके लिए आपको कोई प्रोडक्ट नहीं मिला, बट आप ए प्लेस टू बी प्लेस पर पहुंच गए। ऐसा ही बैंकिंग के अंदर है, ऐसा ही आप हेल्थ क्लब सर्विस के अंदर जा सकते हैं, ऐसे ही म्यूनसिपैलिटी के कि आपने म्यूनसिपैलिटी को टैक्स दिया और उन्होंने आपके मतलब जो एरियाज है वो क्लीन रखे, उसमें आपको कोई प्रोडक्ट नहीं मिला बट आपको मतलब क्या है कि सर्विस मिली है। However, the behavior of the staff towards clients also form an extremely important part of health club service, but it is intangible. In many cases, it is the intangible part which is more important in attracting and retaining customers. In dealing with service organization, therefore, you should lay emphasis on efficient service as well as friendly and courteous behavior in highly undifferentiated organizations such as national banks. Personalized and friendly service can become a basis for distinguishing the organization. The other important variable in organization service institution is to correctly identify the service which the organization is providing to the customer and the activities needed to be undertaken to maintain the improve the service. The telephone departments provide a communication service to its customer to maintain and improve its service. It has to ensure smooth operation of exciting telephone, providing for a new equipment, procurement, and installation. Last one is summary. In this unit, we have discussed various issues involved in structuring your organization. You have a variety of design to choose from, but no one design as it is can prove to be a perfect fit for an organization. You would always need to modify and adopt structural design according to the specific objectives of your organization. The environmental factors such as political, legal, cultural, and social conditions, and your own attitude as a manager towards the issues of centralization of power and delegation of responsibilities. Whatever be the structure you decide upon for your organization, you must always keep in mind the basic principle of defining and describing jobs and differentiating them to form manageable parts and then integrating them to achieve the common goals. सो इसी तरह से हमारी यूनिट कंप्लीट हुई। 10वीं यूनिट जो हमारी कंप्लीट हो गई है, उन्हें मैक्सिमम इम्पोर्टेंट क्वेश्चंस को डीपली पढ़ा दिया है। और हम जो हमारा गोल है वो है कि आप एग्ज़ाम में अच्छे नंबर लाए, और आपको अच्छे नंबर लाने के लिए हमारा काम है कि आपको अच्छे से समझाना, ताकि आपके जो बेसिक डाउट्स है और जो मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट क्वेश्चन आपको पता चल जाए और आप एग्ज़ाम में जाके अच्छे से लिख पाएँ। और इसी तरह से हमारी जो नेक्स्ट यूनिट है, वो नेक्स्ट यूनिट 11 है, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, कम्युनिकेशन प्रोसेसेस। इसके हम नेक्स्ट क्लास में बात करेंगे। थैंक यू।